Well, what do we have here? Here's my favorite snake oil salesman, always good for some unintentional comedy. Hey, looks like I'm going to have a lot of fun today. I've wanted to discuss a curious and funny phenomenon for some time. A person who, when it's time to prove toughness at the moment of truth, that guy ends up causing you the greatest secondhand embarrassment you can possibly feel. And he ends up making you put your hands on your head, while you wonder, what the hell was that guy thinking? That's how Black Clover is, Besto Shonen. I mean, that's how it is. Today, I'm going to go over 3 of my favorite hype men in the world of manga and anime. But first, very briefly, I'll explain what a hype man is for those who aren't familiar with the term. They say someone is selling you smoke when they promise you something that's basically impossible for them to fulfill or achieve. When someone shows you something that seems impressive at first but isn't actually that great, that's where the phrase selling smoke comes from. Because they're not selling you anything tangible or real, they're just deceiving you, so to speak. A good example is cinematic trailers for AAA video games that reveal nothing about actual gameplay or mechanics. It's just a cinematic trailer made in computer-generated imagery with epic background music that feels more like a music video than a video game trailer. There have been many times when a company has released an impressive cinematic trailer, so that later the game turns out to be, let's say, different. For example, with League of Legends and World of Warcraft, anyone watching their cinematic trailers might think the games have top-tier graphics, that it will make you wildly orgasm while playing it, only to find out later that they're actually pretty mediocre in that aspect. This, when applied to anime characters, is pretty simple. We all know that character who is hyped up by the story as much as possible, making them seem extremely intimidating and powerful. They end up destroyed and humiliated in a ridiculous way for some reason, though not always. And now, throughout the video, we'll look at 3 cases that are very different from each other. Some use their power to sell illusions, while others believe they'll influence the plot more than they actually do. And others who sold you smoke by pretending to be the bad guys or the good guys, only to turn out to be the complete opposite. Alright, explanations are over. Let's get to video number 1. Supreme Kaiosama, as you can see, we're starting off strong today. The Supreme Kaiosama and everything related to him, until it was obvious he literally soiled himself. This felt like one of the biggest letdowns I've ever seen, and probably Akira Toriyama's biggest trolling. In fact, the Supreme Kaiyosamas were a bit disappointing, except obviously for the Supreme Kaiosama of the South. People rarely mention this guy, but he truly deserves respect. He was gutsy and fought fiercely. He put up a very respectable fight against Majin Buu, and that's quite an impressive feat. But none of them compare in terms of cringe to what our current Supreme Kaiosama turned out to be. Shin, that's the guy's name, was introduced as an extremely fearsome person. He first appeared with Kirito, another guy who also turned out to be pathetic. He was quickly eliminated by Dabura, but I don't think any of us viewers really cared that this pink guy was gone. When Shin showed up, he made Piccolo freak out badly, which shocked you since Piccolo had never done that in front of anyone before. Has he ever truly felt fear? Maybe facing the Saiyans, Vegeta, and Nappa, but he never showed it and always remained calm. Like with Frieza and the androids, Othel never hesitated. But here, he almost had to go use the Martian bathroom and clean his pants because he was so scared, he almost pooped himself. He was really terrified. At that moment, we all thought the Supreme Kaiosama would be an invincible monster like Zenosama, only with a face that looks like he smokes weed daily. It was later explained that this was because Piccolo had fused with Kami-sama and owed great respect to the Kaiosamas. I still don't know. I'm not convinced. Piccolo's reaction still feels exaggerated and out of place, unless Piccolo believed the Supreme Kaiosamas had much greater powers due to their rank. After this, both Kibito and Shin keep hyping themselves up. They reminded me of that typical friend we've all had. Thinks he's Floyd Mayweather after a month and a half of boxing classes at his gym. Kibito casually asked Gohan to turn into a Super Saiyan, as if he were asking a puppy to do a trick, when the reality is that if Babiti's cringe bald guys hadn't intervened, Gohan would have landed such a punch on Kibito. The latter would still be spinning around the solar system. It seems Spopovich can do more than hit teenage girls. He can also ruin fun moments. The Z-Warriors get along with these two, so they set out to go to Babiti's base to beat the crap out of him. On the way, these two talk about how super strong they are. Like, how could Shin defeat Freezer with a single blow? That they're on another level and all that. Yeah, Kibito, sure, I'm sure if you had paid attention, you would have beaten him, yeah. They arrive at the base and Shin starts to freak out. Babidi sends his best warriors, so Shin warns Goku and Vegeta to be very careful. That they're elite warriors, super powerful, enhanced by Babidi's powers. And that if they're not careful, they could... nothing. They'd take them out with a single blow. By now, the Supreme Kai was beginning to realize it could be true. Maybe those guys were just a little bit stronger than he originally thought. From here, things get ridiculous as the Supreme Kaiosama gets bullied by everyone. Goku threatens him to get off the tournament ring. Vegeta yells harshly at him, nearly scaring Shin to death. Only Gohan isn't picking on him. Poor Shin is small. Take care of him. Then, Majin Buu gives him a terrible beating. I actually remember specifically a scene where Majin Buu claps in his face and leaves it in a very funny shape. This must have been intentional trolling, otherwise I can't understand it. From here, the truth was revealed. The truth is that Shin is a weakling, or at least a weakling at this point in the story. Back then, he lacked the courage to face Majin Buu and protect the universe. I don't dislike Shin, I find him endearing. But it's clear he was Dragon Ball's biggest letdown. Closely followed by good old Gohan, whose turn to be criticized will come soon enough. No need to rush. Number 2, Lid or Lieve. I don't know. As I mentioned in the introduction of the video, there are several ways a character can let you down. Hype. It doesn't always have to be something related to power. There can even be hype that, once revealed, can actually turn out to be positive for the character. This is true for Lieve, the demon in Asta. This little son of the Great Puce pulled off the greatest roleplay in anime history, only matched by Megumin from Konosuba and her family. Why do I say that Lieve is a roleplayer? It's very simple. The guy spent the whole series pretending to be the baddest of the bad. He was a ruthless, powerful demon trying to lead Asta to destruction and pain, with a dark, seinen vibe full of demons and insanity. He always appeared before others as a giant, extremely threatening figure. He had nothing to envy about Kurama before Naruto gave him kisses. Even when he appeared to that guy. I mean, to Zagred, he did it in a super aggressive and intimidating way, rubbing it in Zagred's face that he lost because he was useless. He even laughed at him and rejoiced in his defeat. This is totally understandable. After seeing Lieve's past and how other demons treated him, I have to point out the obvious. The whole time he was presenting himself as a being of biblical proportions, born from resentment, from pain, and who longs for destruction, and blah, 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 blah. Only to turn out to be the cutest and most adorable little creature that has ever existed and will ever exist in all of Black Clover. Sorry to compare with Kurama again, but it fits here and lets me highlight more differences between them even now. Even in 2021, some people still think these two characters are the same. Kurama, even though his attitude changed, never roleplayed. Kurama was always the most powerful Biju by far after the division of the Jubi, which only brought him misfortune, since everyone wanted to take advantage of his power. They only wanted him for that. He was just a mere tool, and no one ever showed the slightest interest in how he might feel. As a result, he was consistently mistreated by humans. Those who didn't use him wanted to kill or seal him, so he wouldn't cause so-called problems for which he was never to blame. Whether it was aggressively like Madara or politely like Hashirama, humans still hurt him. On the other hand, Lieve put on quite a roleplay because he only hates demons. In fact, he has nothing against humans themselves. It was actually a human, Asta's mother, who took care of him and treated him really well for a while. Does Lieve want to screw the demons? Yeah, but all that showing up in a giant form, all that talk about darkness and stuff was just over the top. Lieve is a low-ranking demon, unknown to important demons. Like Asta, he was a nobody who became someone through hard work. But unlike Asta, Lieve grew much edgier until Asta knocked some sense into him with a few punches. Because if someone doesn't understand with words, they'll understand with punches. Take note of that tip for your daily life. It'll be useful, trust me. It's not just that Lieve's massive form was a false image that Lieve deliberately created. Her real form is like Asta, but edgier, still just as small. Inri also has a chibi form, making her even cuter. So this is a complete show, one of Tabata's usual troll moves / plot twists. Nothing new here. It's great that Lieve is essentially a demon version of Hasta. Besides, you could say they're brothers since they were raised by the same person. And come on, they even look alike physically. It's pretty obvious. The author is clearly trying to make them feel like brothers. So who are we to oppose something so beautiful? I just hope Juno doesn't get too jealous that he has to share his beautiful Asta. Oh god, I can't handle this cast of characters. I love them all. Alright, for all these reasons I've mentioned, I declare Lieve as the most positive, sweetest, and nicest hype builder I've ever seen. Not everything in this video is negative. Number 3, Minato Namikaze. I put Minato on this list because apparently he's one of the biggest hype builders for the Naruto community, due to his poor participation in the Fourth Great Ninja War. Minato was hyped up a lot throughout the whole manga, although I don't really think he was overhyped, because none of his feats were exaggerated. He actually did what was said about him, unlike Supreme Kaiosama, who was supposed to be super strong but wasn't. With Minato, we faced a true beast in both combat and battlefield strategy. The problem fans have is that if he was so strong, if he was so smart and skilled too, why did he have relatively so little impact during the war? Look, I think Minato actually did quite a lot during the war. Yes, someone that powerful could have done much more, even with just his basic abilities. The guy had unlimited chakra from Edo Tensei, and could use his half of Kurama's chakra, which was later taken from him. But well, he was still Minato. You have to understand that in this arc, there were too many important characters, and I mean way too many. It was similar to Marineford in One Piece. Fans have to accept that in these kinds of massive arcs, unfortunately, you can't give every character as much spotlight as we'd like. In any case, rather than accusing a Minato of being all talk, I'd say Kishimoto was the one who misled us with the supposed involvement of Minato in the war. Because the character was extremely powerful, and all his previous feats proved it, right? So, was it not the character's fault that he wasn't used to his full potential? Maybe Kishimoto shouldn't have hyped up a character if he wasn't going to develop him to his full potential during the arc. Still, as I mentioned, I didn't end up feeling bad about it, like, oh, what a wasted character, or anything like that. A fraud? No, Minato was too important to ignore. He was the fourth Hokage and the protagonist's father. Then you can take it however you want. You might think he was a fraud, a wasted character, overrated, or ultimately ignored by the author. What's obvious, and I won't deny it, is that his involvement could have been better, and I guess he didn't quite meet the fans' expectations. For me, it was enough given the saga's complexity and issues. I don't have much else to say about this case, but I had to mention it. Also, if we think about it, it's normal to be overshadowed. If you have to share screen time with Hiruzen God, well, Hiruzen God is Hiruzen God, right? You see your Hokage, you see your grandfather, you see your father, you see your lover, you see your everything. If you like this video, I have more snake oil sellers that didn't make this list due to time constraints. If I see enough support on the video, I might consider turning this into a recurring series on the channel. So, now you know. Let's see those powerful likes and those awesome subs, of course, and those tasty comments can't be missing either. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow me on my social media like Twitter and Twitch, where I stream almost daily. Also, don't forget to follow me on my secondary channel, Belts a Tilter, where I upload videos reacting to anime or reading manga that I've watched or read live. Thank you very much and see you next time.